Okay, we're recording now. So what I want to share with you, I've spoken, there are a lot of great new contemporary volumes that come out on Parshanut and on studying these parashas. So Rabbi Foreman of Aleph Beta, he came out with a new sefer, and he has a very, very distinct approach to how he sees things. Again, very, very text-based. You should look at a website called Aleph Beta. I think it's .org. But we're going to look at this, and I'm going to share. Again, I'm sharing with you what he wrote, and it's because it's when I read it, and I'm like, wow, it's really, when you see something a million times, and then you see it in a new light, and you're like, wow, I did, never thought of it like that. So what it's going to require of us, Shelley, can you hear me? Thumbs up.
I hear you now. Good. Are you talking about Rabbi Foreman?
Foreman, yeah.
He's fantastic.
So I'm going to share with you his piece on this parsha, which is, and it's probably like a 3-part thing maybe, because I didn't read the next 2 yet, but he put it in a book, a new volume, and it's really, it's quite phenomenal. So the bulk of, I guess, what we will focus on this parsha on Toldot is the blessings. Rivka, Yitzchak, they don't have children. She has trouble having children. And finally, we have Esav and Yaakov, and they're like, it couldn't be more opposite. Esav is this, he comes out like finished. He's like a finished gingy. Not anything against gingies. I have to, very, very nice. And which, by the way, if you haven't watched gingy, if you haven't watched, what's it called? The chess thing on Netflix.
Gambit, the
Queen's Gambit. Holy cow, it's phenomenal. Okay, it's really excellent, really excellent. So we learn Torah and you get Netflix recommendations. So the Queen's Gambit, really, really good. And so then we have the story of he sells the birthright, buys whatever that is, and then we have the story of the bracha. Yitzchak is nearing his death. By the way, he doesn't die for quite some time later. And Yaakov pretends to be Esav, and he deceives his father. Okay? So the starting point for this, and this is how he starts, which is really, really interesting. So if you're in the Chumash, okay? Let's look at chapter 27. If you're in so it's page 140 in the Stone Chumash. Okay. This is already after the terrible episode, okay, of what happens, and this is sort of the aftermath, okay. And Rivka tells Yaakov in Pasuk Membeis, "Vayigadla Rivka es divrei Esav b'na gadol, vatishlach vatikar leYaakov b'na katon v'tomer lav hinei Esav achicha misnachem l'chol hargecha." So she heard that Esav obviously is upset that he didn't, he got duped. She calls Yaakov and she says, "Look, Esav is, he's getting ready. He wants to kill you." V'ata b'ni shema b'koli v'kum barach l'cha lavan achicha rana. And she says, "Listen, you got to listen to what I say. You need to run away to Lavan, my brother in Haran," which is like going from, one fire to another fire, as we're going to see. V'yashavto imo yamim achadim ad asher tashuv chamas achicha. And you're going to sit with him for a long time until, he calms down, which, and like, I'm going to call for you, but she never actually calls for him. And we don't know if he ever actually calms down. Ad shuv af achicha mimacha v'shachach es asher asisa lo v'shalachti v'lakachticha misham lama eshkal gam shnechem yom echad. Until your brother's anger against you subsides and he forgets what you have done to him, then I will send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereaved of both of you on the same day? Okay. Now, this is already like the aftermath of the story. She's like, okay, you got to run away. You have to save yourself. Save yourself. I'm going to come for you, Jacob. Don't worry. I'm going to take care of it. What jumps off in this pasuk? It's particularly verse 45, Memhe. Okay, and it's so subtle, But when you look at it, you kind of like scratch your head of, oh, okay.
Well, I think she says what you did to him and it was all her plan.
Oh, good luck, Shelley, right? Shelley says, and correctly so, she's like, oh, by the way, you better get out of here because after look what you did to him. We're looking like, what you did? So let's back up. Let's ask the story. Why did Yaakov do what he did? Why did
his mother told him?
His mother told him to, right?
Oh.
Right? His mother said, listen, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go, blah, 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 blah. And then she says, oh, by the way, look what you did to him. It's the old, like, look what your son did. When they break a window, like when they get 100 on a test, look what my child did. When they break a window, look what your child did. Right? So it's like all of a sudden, look what you did to him. Why should I lose both of you? Look what you did to him. And you're thinking like, that's not fair. I mean, Rivka, do you not have any accountability in this story? Okay. So the way he phrases it, and he says, if you were like Rivka's lawyer, how would you defend her actions? Okay. So I'll ask you that question. We ask ourselves the question, like, how could you, like, she's one of the imahos, she's a matriarch, she only ate Chalav Yisrael, and her candles were lit from week to week, and the challah, oh my gosh, like we saw at the end of last week's parsha, when she comes into Sarah's tent, and all of a sudden she's so righteous, she's so amazing, she's incredible, and now, she's deceiving this one. She's deceiving. She actually orchestrates a deceit of one child against another child, one child against a parent. How can you defend this? Is this defensible?
She had prophecy, and that justifies it.
So let's look at the prophecy. Very good, Yafit. So let's go back to the beginning of the prophecy. She goes to the prophecy, and very beginning of the parsha. Again, it's page 126 in the stone, chapter 25, verse 20, 24. I'm sorry. Go back one page, 124, very beginning. My bad. She has a prophecy that, Yitzchak is 40 and they can't have kids. By the way, this is the couple that we see interaction between husband and wife, which we didn't see between Abraham and Sarah, and not so much between Yaakov. We've discussed that in the past. He davens for her, she davens for herself. Finally, she has a baby. She becomes pregnant. However, Chaf Beis 22, she has difficulty, it seems difficulty in pregnancy. Now, we, the reader, are told Habanim. She doesn't know that she has twins ostensibly at this point because of what's about to happen. And she has to go like, so when you have a problem in pregnancy, I don't know about you, but I go to shul and I speak to God. God, what's going on here? Maybe go for an ultrasound. Maybe go, they got very, very, very cool. They're in color now, and you could like kids smiling at you. It's amazing what they could do with the ultrasounds these days. Not like us. Like I would sit there and they'd be like showing me the thing. I'm like, I don't see it. It's like those tests, you can see like the things hidden inside the pictures. Like I whatever. They look the same to me. Anyway, she goes to God, and God says, by the way, so first of all, God speaks to her. She seeks out God by Yomer Hashem Allah. God speaks to her. That's a big deal. So here's the prophecy that Yafit mentioned. You have two nations, and there's you have two regimes. The might shall pass from one to the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. Okay. So Yafit, that's what you quoted. So I'm going to put you on the spot. I want to ask you, what is that prophecy?
Well, it's prophesizing that the descendants of Esav and the descendants of Yaakov will be enemies, which we are. That's until today.
Okay.
So it's not just that they will be enemies, but their descendants will be enemies.
Okay. Where do you see that in the pasuk? I'll read you the translation. Two regimes from your inside shall be separated. The might shall pass from one regime to the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. Say that 10 times fast. The elder shall serve the younger.
Well, regime, it's peoples, not individuals. It's nations.
Okay, but it just says might
You can
shall
have
pass.
many nations. Must all nations be enemies?
Right. It doesn't say anything about battle here. Now, by the way, what I'm challenging you to do, and this is what's hard, is to forget what you know.
Right.
Take away your preconceived notions of the story, and let's just read the psukim. Okay. All right. So let's say that they're saying that, okay, one is up, one is down. Now, by the way, how do you translate? And this is where we focus. Viravya avod sa'ir.
It should be Bechor, not Rav.
Yes. So this is what leads the Mefarshim, drives them crazy, because they don't know how to translate this passage.
It's like apples and oranges.
Yeah, but also it's like it could be Virav Kama Ya'avod Sa'ir, and the greater one, the younger one shall serve, or Virav Ya'avod Sa'ir, the greater one will serve that Sa'ir, or maybe Virav Ya'avod say that Sa'ir will Ya'avod Rav, because Rav is not Rav means a lot. Meaning that maybe the Sa'ir will serve a lot, will have to work hard at it. So there's such ambiguity in the pasuk. Okay, let's say we don't know how to translate, but let's take it for granted. Let's say that it does mean, okay, that he has to be triumphant. Okay, he has to be triumphant. Does that make it okay? Is that okay then do the ends justify the means? Are you allowed to engage in deceitful behavior? Are you allowed to engage in perhaps even unlawful behavior because I had a prophecy and it's supposed to come true? Is that okay? That's a big moral question, right? Which, you could talk from here till tomorrow about it, but let's narrow it down to this case. Do you think, based on what we see in the Psukim, however you understand it, does it justify her behavior in saying, you can deceive your father, or I can deceive my husband, or you can cause your brother to want to have a vendetta, a life-threatening vendetta against you? Is that okay?
Well, the Torah tells us it's not, because she's punished. And so is Yaakov. She loses Yaakov forever.
Well, is that a punishment against her?
Yeah, she never sees him again.
I don't think it's ever expressed as it could be what we say a memela. It's a that's a fait accompli of what that. Yeah, that's going to happen. That's a result of what happens. But I don't think the Torah ever paints it as a punishment against Rivka. There is a more subtle punishment against Rivka that Chazal mentioned in the fact, and we've discussed this in the past, is that the Torah does not record her death directly. That is seen as, according to many Mefarshim, as a punishment. But we don't see that. So first of all, and here's the thing that even no matter what theories we take, what makes me scratch my head the most in this, as we have to look at Rav Hirsch's commentary, is after the thing unravels and Yitzchak realizes he's been duped and Esav, and she has to send him away, what happens? Yaakov comes in and Yitzchak blesses him again. Yitzchak and Rivka bless him again together. Look at it. You'll see at the end of the parsha. Okay, which makes no sense to me. But let's leave that aside for a second, and you'll bring that back maybe at the end of this. Okay, so she then says to Yaakov, "Yeah, you got to go away because after all, look at what you did to your brother." So you'll say, "What do you mean? What you did? What you did, Rivka? What you did?" Okay, so now here's where you have to look at the situation. Let's look at the text and of the deceit, and let's see how we're going to do with this. Now, would you rather I did it on the screen, or you want to follow along in the book? You tell me.
Book is fine as long as it's fine.
Yeah,
Okay,
we can follow.
So let's now go to that episode. We're gonna doing a little bit back and forth, but let's go to the episode of the deceit, which is here on page 134 in the stone. Again, chapter 27. Yitzchak is old; he can't see, and it says that he calls Esav his older son, and he says, "My son." He says, "I'm here." He says, "I'm dying. I'm old. I don't know when I'm gonna die." he says, now go get your vessels, whatever, and go hunt for me. Go to the field and hunt for me, and make me matamim kasher hafti. Make my favorite dinner. Like before your kid goes away for the year or something. You want to take them and make your favorite dinner, or for the birthday, you get the birthday dinner, or whatever it is. Make my favorite meal, and then I'm going to give you a bracha before I die. Bavur tavarecha chanafshi. Now, we don't know what this tavarecha chanafshi is. Blessing. I will that my soul may bless you. Whatever that. What does that mean? My soul will bless you. It's unclear. So look at this. Now, I please, before we go further, please, if it's possible, remove any preconceived notions from your mind. I know that's hard. I know it's very, very hard, but let's just read through the psukim and pretend like you've never seen this before. V'Rivka shamas b'daber Yitzchak el Esav beno, v'yelch Esav hatzarel etzitzar levi. So Rivka hears when Yitzchak is speaking to Esav, her son, and he goes to the field and he's going to go hunt. The Rivka Amr el Yaakov ben Lemor. Rivka says to her son Yaakov, Hinei shamati es avicha medaber el Esav achicha lemor. This is what your father Yitzchak has said to your brother Esav. Havia litzayid vaselim etamim va'ochela. Could you make me a nice meal? V'avarechacha lefnei Hashem lefnei Mosi, and I will bless you in front of God before I die. V'yatop ani shema bekoli. Now listen, my son, very carefully. Listen to my voice, to what I'm commanding you. Lech noel atzon, v'kachli misham shnei gedayei izim tovim, v'eseh osam atamim le'avicha ka'asher ahev. Go to the sheep, get me 2 nice ones. I will make them for your father like he enjoys. I'll make his favorite meal. And you bring it to your father, and he will eat it. Therefore, then he will bless you before he does. Okay? At what point, and then the next pasuk is, we're going to see that, but he's going to go ahead and do that. Did she at any point, did she say, deceive your father?
No.
No. At no point does she say, be someone else. All she says is, beat him to the punch. I'll make
Not
a deal.
yet. Not yet.
What?
Not yet. When she tells him to put the stuff on, that's already another.
Okay. Good. Hold on to that.
Also,
So-
you told us to eliminate preconceived notions. It says in the text that Esav is Isaac's son and Jacob is Rebekah's son. So
Where?
that already,
Where-
there's
where-
tension.
Oh, we know there's tension. There's no question
Okay.
there's tension. But she said, because she says to Yaakov, look, but she says, Esav achicha. Esav, your brother, right? Doesn't say Esav there. It doesn't say Esav, Yitzchak's son. But she said, I hear what you're saying. El Esav beno. Okay, fine.
Where are you?
In the earlier pasuk. Okay. So Yaakov says to Rivka, Vayomer Yaakov, Hein Esav achi ish sa'ir ve'anochi ish chalak. Esav is hairy. I am not. I'm very smooth. I exfoliate daily. Okay. Ulai yimusheni avi vayisa ve'enav kim sateya.
Oh, wow.
Vehevesi alai kalala v'lo bracha. She
So
said,
he's kind of inferring it.
what?
He's the one that infers it.
He says, wait, he's going to feel me. I'm going to be like, but look what he says. I will be, this is what's very troubling. Translate this to me. Vayis be'enav kim sa'ateya. I will be like, as a deceiver in his eyes. Not, he's going to say, you're tricking me. I will be like a deceiver, and he'll be upset with me, and he's going to curse me. He's not going to bless me. So she says, "Vatomer lo imo alai kilalas chabini." She says, "Don't worry, I'll accept the curse." Now, what does that mean? What is it? If this is a deceit taking place, and they didn't exactly have a lot of time to plan this, what are the chances? What are the chances that this is going to work? I mean, Yitzchak is blind. He's not stupid. Right? And they say, by the way, that people who lose one sense, they have heightened, the other senses become much more heightened. Right? So what do they think is going to, like, if I had to say to you, do you think this is going to work? This is a good plan. You'll be like, yeah, not a chance. And like, there's zero. So she's willing to just blindly say, I'll, if he curses you, if he thinks that you're cheating him, deceiving him, don't worry, it's on me. What does that accomplish? She says, just listen to me. He goes, he takes it. She makes the matamim. Okay. Now vatikach Rivkas bigdei Esav b'na gdol chamudos asher ita b'bayis vatalbeish es Yaakov b'na hakaton ves aros kedei azim hilbish al yadav al chalkas savra. So she then puts on these woolen clothing. This is maybe where they get the term to pull the wool over somebody's eyes. Could be. And she places on him. She puts it and she takes all the delicacies. And then let's stop right there before verse 18. Okay. So at no point do we see that she says, go pretend to be Esav. All she says is, go and prepare food. And not only that, I'm going to prepare it for you. And you just take it to him. And he says, but he's going to think I'm smooth. I'm not. What does that have to do with anything? It bears no reflection on the previous part of the conversation. Did she say pretend to be Esav? No, she didn't say that. Okay.
It's almost like the idea developed as they went on. Like it started okay, and then they got this like, well, how about we do it this way?
Okay, but you're reading that into the text.
But it's based on the fact that she overheard the conversation. You're saying that there's no sign of deception. I mean, it's completely based on her.
She never says to deceive him.
No, but getting him
it's implied. If she didn't hear that conversation, would she have done it?
She just wants to get, what is she, so that question is done what? Would she have done what?
Would she have told him to, would she have told him to go prepare, would she have prepared the food? Would she have told him to do all of this?
Well, so that's what we really have to investigate. What is she really trying to accomplish here? Yes, Elian. Elian has brilliance to share with us.
Well, she's the sister of Lavan. So doesn't that already, and that's how she's.
Elian said she's a sister of Lavan. So again, Elian is too smart. She knows too much. Take that out of your head. So what? She's a sister of Lavan.
We know who Lavan.
We don't know who Lavan is yet. We don't know.
No, but we know. Okay.
We don't really know much about, right? You're right. See, I'm saying it's hard. It's very hard to take the preconceived notions out of your head.
But I think maybe she doesn't say, let's go deceive him, but her actions show it. Her actions by dressing him up like him show it.
Okay, so here's what we have to ask. What, before we get to the dressing up part, let's say she doesn't dress him up. Let's say he doesn't ask that question. And she says, just bring the food to him.
And then she's innocent.
She's just saying, bring food to him that he likes. Why?
But he clearly sees that it's wrong. It says that he knows that it's wrong.
Yeah.
So then we have to ask the question, what is he worried about? What is she trying to accomplish? And what is he really worried about? These are all the right questions that you're asking. Okay. So here's now, he says, you have to look at and this is the launching point, where hold on, hold your spot there. Let's go back to the beginning of the parsha. Page 126. Okay. Esav and Yaakov. Very different appearances, different everything, different, okay? So, Pasuk Chaf Hey on the top of the page. Oh, Hine Tomim. Oh, it's twins. Oh, look, twins. Vayetze, by the way, we have a twins bar mitzvah the Shabbos. Like, could that be set up any better? Vayetze Harishon Admoni. The first one comes out and he's whatever. He's hairy, he's full, I don't know how to describe this, but he's something, right? And they call him Esav. And then the brother comes out and what's the impression? And he's grabbing onto the heel and they call him Yaakov, and Yitzchak is 60, okay? Explain to me the difference between the two names. And then look very, very, very carefully at the psukim. And you're going to see something that I promised you probably read it 1,000 times. You never really, really noticed. Okay? Esav comes out. What does Esav mean? Esav is like a Sue.
Red, ruddy, hairy,
No, but what does Esav mean?
his grass.
No, that's with a sin. This is like
Okay.
with a base. I mean, like a Sue like he's made.
Like to do?
To
Completely
do. Correct.
developed.
Okay. Esav,
Huh.
look at him. This one is a doer. This one is a doer. This one gets things done. Look at him. He's already finished. He's complete. He's not set. He's a Sue. He's like fest. Look at him, right? And by the way, who gave him the name?
Both.
They both gave him the name. Now comes Yaakov. And look at the description. It's like another kid, and he's like grabbing on to the heel. Vayikra Shemo Yaakov. Who called him Yaakov?
It doesn't say.
Yes, it does. It says Vayikra.
Jacob.
Who is he?
I mean,
Vayikra is he is his father. There's only two people here. It's the mother and father.
and
Both
it says-
parents called him Esav. Only one parent called him Yaakov. And it says in the masculine singular, Vayikra, which we could infer very clearly that means Yitzchak called him. Now, what does Yaakov mean? So it gives us this image. He's grabbing onto the heel, meaning, by the way, the word heel, even in modern parlance, like in like a bad character, the guy that you want people to root against is called a heel. Okay, but also if you look later in Pasuk in Perek Chav Zayin, after verse 36, after Esav realizes what happens, Vayomer hachik kara shmo Yaakov. He says, "Oh, that's why you called him Yaakov. Why? Vayakveni ze pa'amayim es b'charasi lakach v'hinei ata lakach birchasi vayomar lo atzati li bracha." He says, "Is that why you called him that? You called him Yaakov? Why? Because 2 times Vayakveni. What does Vayakveni mean? He outsmarted me. He duped me. He tricked me. Okay." So you have Esav, who is the doer. He's the one that could accomplish this, okay? And then there's Yaakov, who's always sort of like roundabout.
Also a follower.
He's secondhand. Nothing goes directly with him. Everything has to go kind of, we say, and by the way, the word to do crooked is akmimistic. Akmimistic is also somewhat related. Yaakov, he said, he can never go straight forward. It has to be like from the bottom. He's grabbing you at your heels, right? Something like that. Okay? Now, by the way, who gave him that name? Yitzchak gave him that name. So maybe Rivka doesn't like this name. Maybe Rivka, and that's her only action. We don't see her active again until the story of the blessings. So let's go back now to the story of the blessings, back in chapter 27, okay? She goes back to chapter 27, and she hears that Yitzchak wants his delicacies, because after all, who's gonna provide for Yaakov? Or who's gonna provide for Yitzchak? Esav. Esav is a doer. He can hunt, he can cook, he can clean, he can do everything, right? There is nothing that Esav can't do, right? So he says, so Rivka hears this, okay? Well, again, go back to the pasuk. We go back in 134, pasuk Hey. Rivka shamas b'daber Yitzchak Esav beno. She hears what's happening when he's speaking to Esav, and Esav goes out, and she says to Yaakov, guess what? I heard he's speaking to Esav, Havil Tzayid, and I'll bless you. Now's our chance. Now's our chance to prove to your father that what? That you're not a Yaakov. You're not an also ran. You're not a roundabout guy. Guess what? You're also capable of doing things. How? You're going to prepare him his food. You're going to say, look, Tati, I can also cook. I can also hunt. I can also do these things, right? And therefore, there's a problem with this. The problem is that she actually undermines her own philosophy, because she's saying, like, we want to prepare our kids for something, And if we don't let them sort of, you know, one of the hardest things to do is to let your kids make mistakes themselves and live with their mistakes. We have a tendency sometimes as parents that we just want to fix it for them. We want to make it easier for them. But sometimes when you make it easier for your kids, you're actually not making it easier for them. You're making it much harder. So she's saying, if you want to prove, oh, look how great I am, right? Then what's going to happen? But don't worry, Yaakov, I'll make it for you. She's like, you don't have to actually do anything. Just get the animal. I'm going to prepare it for you. So now he looks at it and he has a problem with this. So what's his problem? He's going to say, wait a minute. She says to Rivka, Yaakov does, Esav is ish sa'ir and I'm ish chalak. He's saying, wait a minute. He's going to feel, you ever see the hands of somebody who works? People who work with their hands, as opposed to people who have very soft hands. He's going to say, oh, you're trying to prove to me that you're somebody? You didn't do this. You're not a worker. You're not an Esav type yet. And he's not trying to be, just trying to prove that, look, I can also be a doer. I can also be an accomplished person.
But he's not proving himself if he's disguising himself. He's not
That's
showing
the
that
point.
Yaakov can do things.
The disguise didn't happen yet. At this point, his reaction is to bring the food. He's going to say, wait a minute. He's going to say, you didn't prepare this. Okay. You didn't prepare this. You didn't do anything. Okay. So she's right. And then he says, and therefore what? I'm going to look like I'm tricking my father. In other words, I'm not trying to deceive my father. I want to be what you want from me, Mom. I want to show that I could do things also. But Mommy, if you're doing it for me and I'm bringing it and my hands are so palm olive clean, right, Madge? Remember Madge? We used to soak in there. See, I'm dating myself. Okay. And you kids won't know what I'm talking about. And he's going to see that I don't have those qualities. But he see enough. I'm going to seem like I'm deceiving, and he's going to give me a bracha. He's going to give me a klala, not a bracha. So the mother says, no. Okay. Now you would think, oh, she's helping out her son, right? But then again, what is she doing? What does a doer do? A doer is able to take risk. A doer is able to live with the mistakes. A doer is able to say, I'm going to go out on a limb. But she's trying to protect him at every turn. So she's actually undermining and undercutting her own philosophy. Okay. So therefore she's going to try and bail him out again. And then what does she say? Okay, put on the clothes. Put on the clothes. If you put on the clothes, again, not trying to be Esav, just trying to show that you're not going to be a deceiver. You're perceived as a deceiver because you're going to say, oh, look, you have rough hands. Right. And that's the plan going in. So at no time is she trying to say be Esav. She's just saying, I want you to be the best Yaakov that you can be and to show him that you're not really Yaakov, but you're like a doer. You can get stuff done. Even though she's not helping him by preparing the food and by dressing him as such, okay? It's only in response to his question that he's not going to believe me that I'm a doer. So she says, okay, you know what? Don't worry. I'll handle your father. I'll take if he gets upset at you, I'll take the klala, okay? But rather, she says, go put on the clothing, and then that'll also, like, just like I'm preparing the food for you, that'll mitigate the feeling problem. But she doesn't say at any point does she say to go and be Esav. It doesn't happen, okay? But this is where everything falls apart, okay? So he does that. He puts the stuff on. He goes, and then pasuk Yud Ches, vayavo el aviv vayomer avi. He comes to his father and he says, "My father." Vayomer hineni, here I am. And then he has these three fateful words.
Yeah.
Mi ata bini. Who are you? Now, what does that mean? Who are you? Or like, who are you trying to be? Or and still at this point, you can argue that he has no intention of trying to be Esav. However, maybe he panics. Maybe the whole thing goes off the rails. All of Rivka's planning that she wants to boost up Yaakov in the eyes of his father. Say, he's not a Yaakov, he's not a Lemela, he's not in the roundup. He can do things also. Look at him. And then Yaakov ruins the whole thing right there. Vayomer Yaakov el Aviv, Anochi Esav b'charecha. It's Yaakov the one who says he's Esav. She never said to take your Esav. She don't say pretend to be Esav. Don't act. She just said, I want to boost your stock up in the eyes of your father. And he, on his own, what does he do? he says, Anochi Esav b'charecha. You can imagine that she's hearing this and she's thinking like, oy vavoy, oy vavoy. And then he starts with the whole spiel. Okay. And he says, I did like you told me. He never told me. I come eat so you can bless me. And Yitzchak says, what do you do so far? And he says, and he goes on and on. And he goes, let me feel you. Yitzchak is still. And then it's Yaakov who perpetrates the ruse, which explains why later on, when Rivka sends him away, she says, look at what you did. Look at what you did to deceive your father. Okay? It's actually a brilliant reading into the Psukim. I think there's a lot to argue here that a lot of this makes sense. Now, the real question is was he right or was he wrong? Because we'll see next week when you get into Parshas Vayetze, God meets Yaakov on the road. Now, if he deceived his father, if he, pretended to be somebody he wasn't, if he did something he wasn't supposed to do, you would think God would give him Musar for that, which God does not, hesitate to give Musar. God will rebuke. And yet he's like, no, I'm going to protect you. You're good. So obviously something good came out of this. Question is what? We have to see that as we move forward. But right now, just answering our original question, you could, if you were Rivka's lawyer and you were saying your defense would be, I never wanted this to happen. Are you kidding me? Ruins my marriage. You can imagine that Yitzchak was pretty upset at Rivka. I'm sure things, unfolded and figured out. But maybe that also explains why, when at the end of the parsha, and again, this is what I have trouble fitting into this theory, is nothing is perfect when it comes to Chumash, as you know. Look at the end of the parsha. Look at page 142, beginning of chapter 28. Vayikra Yitzchak el Yaakov, vayivarchoso. Yitzchak then calls Yaakov, and he blesses him, and he says, "Don't take a wife from Canaan. Go to Padan Aram and to Besuel's house and take somebody from there. God is going to bless you, and you're going to have and here and now you're going to have the bracha of Avraham. Maybe that's the real bracha right here, okay?" And he sends him off. Now, if he was trying. The truth is, yes. Did Yaakov deceive Yitzchak? Absolutely. Did Yaakov pretend to be Esav? 100%. Was that the original plan? Maybe not. Not necessarily. Maybe it just turned out that way because sometimes he panicked. And did his mother ever tell him to do that? No. There is no indication anywhere in the pasuk that she instructed him to pretend to be Esav. Did she want that to happen? There is no indication in the pasuk that she ever wanted that to happen. Question then that's a nagging question, and I've always had this question, is why does Yitzchak bless him again? Maybe Yitzchak has some sort of Ruach HaKodesh that he understands that this was the right thing to do, and he was trying to do something, and something else happened, whatever it is, but it's a difficulty, but they say from a kasher starting it, nobody ever died from a question. But it's a radically different reading of the verses. By the way, it's not radically different. It's radically accurate because you're actually reading the psukim. It just goes to show you that our notion of how we learn a story and how it sinks into our memory and our everything, it's sometimes hard to read the actual psukim. And when you read the actual psukim without anything else, the psukim are rather clear in explaining to us that Rivka at no time had any part of this, which then explains later why she says, look what you did. Because in fact, it is what you did, Yaakov.
But I'm sorry, she does say, your curse will be on me before this happens. She knows it's wrong. She knows. What curse?
But it's in response to what?
He said, perhaps my father will feel me and I shall be as a mocker. And I'll bring myself a curse. And she says, your curse.
What does that mean? No. But what is he really asking?
He's afraid of being a deceiver, of being untruthful.
He's afraid of being like a deceiver. Kimisateya. My father will think that I'm trying to make fun of him because I'm trying to be something I'm not. Not that I'm trying to be Esav, that I'm trying to present myself as this character, as this person that my mother wants me to be. This finished, polished, accomplishing person, when that's not my persona, that God, he's going, what are you making fun of? Like, come on, Yaakov, we all know that you don't know how to cut a cucumber. You think you know how to make a steak? Come on, right? You think I'm going to believe that? He's going to think I'm making fun of him. So she's like, don't worry, I'll take that risk. She's like, don't worry, I'll handle him. But nowhere did she ever say, you be Esav. And nowhere does he ever say I'm pretending to be Esav. It's not until he says, "Mi ata b'ni," who are you, my son? Who are you? Or like, who do you think you are? Or what are you trying to accomplish here? And then he just says, "Oh, ani Esav b'charecha." Again, it's not airtight, but it is very, very compelling. It's very compelling when you look at the psukim, and especially when you go back and you realize that, you know what? Both of them named him Esav, and only one of them named him Yaakov, and it was the father. Why did Rivka not name him Yaakov? And by the way, why does he not keep the name Yaakov? Yaakov is not a name that he keeps. It becomes Yisrael. When it comes divinely ordained, he changes it to Yisrael. I'm just saying there's a lot to think about here.
Did he change it or did Hashem change it?
God. No, people didn't change their own names. Only God changed his name. And by the way, Avram, Sarah, Yaakov, they never change your own name. I would love to change my own name, but I'm not allowed to. That's a whole story for another time. But I'm just saying that, again, this is completely, it's Rabbi Foreman. He quotes it actually from Simcha Cook, who was one of the Rosh Yeshivas in Ner Yisrael. You can, I don't know if he has it posted on his live, but it's in his new book. It's very, very compelling, if for nothing else, but to force you to read the text carefully. And sometimes you have to go back as if you're seeing it for the first time, and you look back at the text and you say, yeah, you're right. This is like a great exercise, like Friday night, a long Friday night at the table. You pull out the Chumash and you say, what really happened? And ask these types of questions. And then I don't need fancy mefarshim for this or this and that. I'm just saying, read the actual text. And you have to be so super careful and parse out every word, because you could read it so many times and not come across the fact that it says, they called him Esav, he called him Yaakov, which is really something. It's quite stunning when you see it. Okay, so hopefully we'll continue more of this next time. But again, this is a level of parshanut which forces you to really, really pay attention to every word. Again, it's very, very juicy. It's very exciting, because this is like one of the great stories in Chumash, and we always try to justify it. Oh yeah, of course, the ends justify the means. I don't know, but you know what? Was it really worth it? And what exactly was it that he was after? What did he get? What really happened? You read the psukim carefully, it's something really, really exciting. So again, it's Rabbi Foreman. You could read the book. It's available now. It's a fantastic book. I think he's going to put one out on every chelik of Chumash. But so far, the Bereshis ones have been extremely, extremely exciting to read and to learn and now to share. So I hope that you'll enjoy it as much as I have. But it's something to think about. It's something to think about. And any other thoughts, please let us know about things you read into the verses. But now with this kind of thought process, go back and reread the entire parsha, reread the verses, reread the episode, and tell me what you think. So it's some neat stuff. Anyway, I hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yes, take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi.